When you're ready, we can begin.
I'm ready.
Fantastic. Well, welcome to a live Q&A with Mr. Nicholas from HBSL. And I wanted to tell you first a little bit about Restaurant Collective. We are a not-for-profit startup, which is helping independent hospitality in the UK. We're helping them in various ways. One of them is Deals Marketplace, where we are hoping to provide our members with incredible deals that will kind of give them a level playing field when competing with kind of bigger chains. We're offering advice. We're offering live Q&A sessions from experts. We're offering community where you can speak to your peers and so much more. And we would love for you to join us because we want to be run by our members. We want to have your input. We want to hear from you what the restaurant community needs. And we are adding more and more features every day to try and bring you a one-stop shop for all your hospitality needs. And today I'm with Nicholas Challen. Challen, there we go, apologies. Who is an expert on energy. And I'd love to hear a little bit of background about yourself and HBSL.
Good afternoon, Isabella. Well, firstly, my background is I've been allied to hospitality my whole working life. For 25 years, I supplied food to hotels and restaurants. I used to supply a number of hotels and restaurants in London and country hotels in the southwest. So I've been associated with hospitality for a long time, since I was 19, so a very long time. And when I decided to move away from being a food distributor, I set up HBSL, which focused on being a procurement service for the independent restaurateur. And we focused on energy. And we've been commercial energy brokers now for 10 years. And in the last 12 months, that has brought a lot of challenges for our clients. And so we're now looking at ways that we can help and advise for the independent operator manage the increasing cost.
So needless to say, not only a hospitality kind of background and energy background. So who better to speak to than yourself? So thank you so much for taking the time to kind of share advice this afternoon. So what is this energy crisis and why is it happening?
A lot of the energy crisis is down to COVID. That was the start of it, because during COVID there wasn't energy being consumed, and so production of gas stopped or slowed down. So as the world then reopened, as lockdown came to an end, globally there became a shortage of gas, and it's gas that has driven the electricity prices to go high as well. So I'll explain that in a moment. So then last year there was an electricity station that flowed from France to the UK that caught fire. So there's been a number of different factors that have caused a shortage in gas, which has in turn produced higher prices. So to give you an idea of what that means in money terms, the wholesale gas market trades in units of therm, which is 29.3 kilowatts of energy. A year ago, they were trading on the wholesale markets at about 50 pence per therm. The current price is £3 a therm. And it did peak at £4 a therm. So that's what's causing the problem, is the huge increase in price. And at the moment, the current prediction is that prices are going to remain high for up to 2 years. There is a school of thought that the prices we're seeing now are going to remain this high, and we've just got to live with the prices that we're currently seeing. There's going to be a major shock to the system, and we're seeing it already, that businesses that are coming out of contract and going into new contracts, the cost of energy for that business is extremely high. So I'll give you a couple of examples. I've got a client that's got 50 sites in Scotland, and they've seen an increase in their electricity costs to the tune of £1 million a year. I have a single site business in Essex whose energy costs have gone up by £12,000 a year. That's just their electricity. So in percentage terms, you're seeing an increase of between 50 and 100%. So for those businesses that are currently in contract, you need to be starting to think about how you're going to manage that increase, because it is going to come. And what, by being a restaurant collective member, what we can do to help you manage that cost.
I am flabbergasted by these numbers. I mean, £1 million extra that you're spending. Is this on a yearly basis?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a huge. Even £12,000 is a huge increase just on electricity, and overheads are going up.
It equates to £20,000 a site. So it's and there is no way around it. They're the costs we're seeing. You might be able to shave 5% off, but the prices that we're currently seeing are going to be with us for a while. How long, to an extent, is, I was going to say, the lap of the gods, but the lap of the gods, but that's not strictly true. A lot of it is down to what Putin does in Ukraine. That will have an impact. So it's a cost that needs managing, and it's no good just pretending it doesn't exist and wait for the problem to come. You need to be pragmatic, saying, right, we've got a huge increase. What are we going to do?
Of course, yeah. I don't know if you were going to continue saying something.
Well,
going to blow on my mind again.
So in terms of what can we do about energy? So there are a couple of things. By being a restaurant collective member, first of all, we will be putting forward what are known as a basket deal. So all the members of the restaurant collective will combine their buying power, so then we can go to the market, and instead of you as an independent business, let's say using between 100,000 and 200,000 kilowatts of energy a year, if we've got 100 members going together, we will have buying power in the marketplace, so we can drive down the price to each individual restaurant or hospitality business. So that's one thing that we can do. The second thing is to start looking at how you use energy yourself. And so are you turning things off when you're not using them? Just to explain what I've done at home, and you can reproduce this in your business. Look at when you've got your heating on, look at when you're heating water. Are you heating it more often than you need it? Have you got energy efficient light bulbs in place? Just look at human activity within the building. You can reduce, just by human activity, you can reduce your consumption by up to 10%. They would be typical figures that you would expect to see. But that's not going to be enough, because you're facing an increase in your bill of between 50 and 100%. So reducing consumption by 10%, you're still going to see an increase. So you can look at renewables. Solar we've been used to for a long time. That's been with us now for ages, and prices are coming down. And because energy is so much more expensive, where the payback used to be between 5 and 7 years, you're now looking at a payback between 2.5 and 3.5 years. So you can look at solar. There's a lot of new technologies coming in now. So you can look at having a wind turbine. There's new silent wind turbines companies that we're speaking to. Look at ground source heat pumps. We can do a site survey to look at the efficiency of building and to see, do an audit on the site to find out what we can achieve for you. In terms of how's that financed, we are looking at grants. Depending on which part of the country you are, there might be levelling up grants that are available. But we do have a partner that will specialise and look at how we can finance through grants if they're available.
So looking at renewable energy is definitely something that you suggest.
For sure. And the starting point is a site survey for the building. So the way we would start is to have a Zoom call with the restaurant owner or the business operator to discuss the feasibility of the site. So have you got a car park? What facilities are available? Do you own the building? What relationship do you have with the landlord, and so on, just to see what we can do. But there is a one-stop solution that it was actually designed for households, but it could be sort of scaled up to work just as well for a restaurant or a pub.
We've had a question, which is, do you think that renewable energy, that price will come down?
It's continued to come down. If I look at solar has continued to come down in price over the last 10 years. So they're probably less than half the cost that it was. Whether they will continue to come down, there will be a point where it can't get any cheaper. And I'm not sure how far away we are from that. But things that businesses should be looking at. So, for example, is your boiler more than 10 years old? If you've got a gas boiler that's 10 years old, you should consider changing it, because it will be inefficient and a modern one will be more efficient to run, so you'll use less. These are all the things that you have to look at, and there's no one-stop shop in terms of one solution will suit everybody. You have to look it up on a case-by-case basis. And that's why we've got a team that sit behind us that will do site audits to be able to assess each site on its own merits.
Okay. And do you, by any chance, know if there are any grants available out there for hospitality to help with this energy crisis, or with using renewable energy?
And there are grants available, but you have to look at, they will come in two parts. There might be levelling up grants. So this is where the government is wanting to, depending on your interpretation of levelling up. So for Scotland, for example, you might be able to apply for a levelling up grant. Then there might be grants available that are available to go green, because obviously the benefit of renewables not only is potentially you're going to be saving money by going green, but you're also reducing your carbon footprint. So it has a double aspect win. But you have to look at the region of the country you're in. I'm sorry to say, there's no magic wand here. We have to look at each case on its own merits to find out whether geographically, what the building, how old is the building, all these things will affect what grants we can apply for.
Okay, fantastic. And so trying to go renewable, so hopefully approaching a company like HBSL, ideally HBSL, and having a site visit where you can have first a Zoom call where you can actually discuss, maybe there might be other options, a possible site visit, and if not that, then the approach of a basket deal.
Yeah, so that deals with everything that's specific to energy. But then what you then have to look at is, right, I've got an increase in energy cost of, let's say, £10,000 a year. So what areas of business can I save money to offset that increase? And the obvious one will be transactions fees on merchant card services. So we are onboarded with the Restaurant Collective to review merchant card costs for businesses, and historically our savings are around 25%. So there's every chance that we could save £10,000 on somebody's merchant card costs. Uh, uh, 18 months ago, we reviewed a merchant card fees for a client of ours, and the saving in this case was 49%, which in cash terms was £20,000.
Incredible.
So, look at other areas of business where you can offset the cost. There are some good deals on the marketplace within the restaurant collective. So members need to scour is it Deals Marketplace it's called?
Yes, that's correct.
And get the deals, because they're there to be had.
No, absolutely. And with energy going up in price as an inevitability, as you said correctly, offsetting the costs with deals or with other ways within your business will help kind of take the sting off. But it's kind of an inevitable cost rise that we're going to have.
It's going to happen. I mean, long gone are the days where if you switched, you'd save money.
Oh, I don't see those ads anymore.
We're just not in that place anymore. If somebody's out of contract and they haven't managed, for whatever reason, the supply hasn't been managed, there's a possibility that we can reduce the cost. But if you're coming out of one contract into another, you will be paying more. Okay.
So would you say it's not a moment right now to switch your energy provider?
Well, if you're in contract, you can't.
Okay.
You can, but you have to buy yourself out of the contract, and there's no commercial advantage to do so. So if you're in a contract now and you're fortunate enough to be in a contract for 2 years, you're lucky. But if you've got a contract coming up for renewal anytime during 2020, you're going to have to deal with it. And it's no good turning a blind eye to it and pretending it doesn't exist. It's going to be there.
No, of course. We've had another question, which is there any limit to the amount by which business energy bills can rise? Like there is for domestic use?
No.
There isn't?
No. The price cap doesn't apply to commercial.
Okay. Okay, wow.
So, I mean, at the moment, we're not seeing... I'm trying to put some numbers on it. So if I look at the price I'm paying at home, I'm currently paying just under 4 pence per kilowatt for gas. And commercial contracts I'm seeing at the moment are coming in just under 10. So it varies. The variance is quite big, actually. It's anything from 6 pence to 10 pence per kilowatt in the commercials. So commercial energy isn't capped like domestic is.
And do you think that there could be a cap implemented? Do you think there should be a cap implemented?
Well, the problem is that because of the wholesale prices have gone up so much, if there's caps, the energy companies, particularly the smaller ones, will continue to go out of business. So should it be capped? Probably. Will it be capped? I doubt it.
And is it, you say small energy companies going out of business, what is the importance of a varied kind of energy company group of providers?
Well, let me explain why so many of the smaller companies have gone out of business, which will help, I think, members to understand what's been going on. Normally, when you enter into a contract for energy, the energy provider will buy that energy forward. So they have covered their risk. So they know how much they're going to buy that energy for, and so they can afford to sell it at whatever price they end up selling it for. With some of the smaller operators they've seen, they didn't have enough capital to buy energy forward for every contract that they had. So they were buying forward energy on a much shorter time frame. So they might have been buying it almost piecemeal as and when they needed it. And that was fine while the market was fairly flat, but because we saw this fivefold increase in wholesale prices, they found that they were having to buy energy at a price that they were selling at it to lose money. And so that's why we've seen so many companies fail, because they were losing money in all of the contracts that they had.
And it's important to have several different providers as opposed to just one big guy that's providing everybody.
Yeah, and there's still plenty of suppliers out there, but I would be sticking to the well-known companies really for the moment.
Okay, so not.
And when we tender for a supply, we go whole of market, and we do our due diligence on our supply base anyway. So we've had a few that have failed, but we've come out of it as a broker relatively clean so far.
So what happens if your company or your hospitality spot, your restaurant, is being provided energy by one of these smaller suppliers that shuts down? What happens?
There's something called a supplier of last resort, and a supplier is appointed to take over that supply.
Okay.
At that point that the supply is taken over, you have a supply, so you won't not have electricity or gas, but they won't be supplied at the prices you were used to paying.
Okay.
And they will normally offer a contract at that, to take over the supply. But what I've seen is the prices being offered haven't necessarily been competitive. So that's where we've been getting involved to manage the process to make sure that the prices being offered by the supplier of last resort are competitive in the marketplace. And in a couple of occasions where we've said, actually, that deal isn't a very good one, let's tender it elsewhere and see if we can get you a better deal.
So if you had a contract and let's say you had a year left on that contract, would you be released from that contract and able to? Okay.
Yeah,
to switch for another provider.
Once the supplier fails, that contract is null and void.
Okay. We have another question, which is a very good question. What is the best way for a restaurant to monitor their energy usage?
Well, first of all, I'd have a smart meter fitted if you haven't already got one. The government has been encouraging smart meters. They're also known as AMR meters, automatic meter read. So that would help monitor. But I would be going around section by section. So look at the kitchen, look at when the energy is being used. You should get, if you're on half-hourly meters, you'll get data come through showing your usage during the course of the working day. So you can analyze out when you're using energy on the peaks of energy to see whether you're being efficient in your use.
Okay, so a smart meter.
Well, a smart meter will give you automatic reads. If you're on half-hourly meter, that will be broken down by the hour, so you can see your consumption through the course of the day. But you really need to look at the building to see how you're using it to make sure you can manage the cost effectively. So look at how the kitchen is being used. Check your fridge temperatures. Have you got them set too cold? Have you got the freezer set too cold? Yeah, and it is the old game of making sure you're not using energy when things aren't being used. So turn things off when you're not using them. Are your toilets on lighting that automatically switches off a minute after somebody's left using them? That kind of thing will make a big difference to how much you use across the course of a year.
Of course, all the small kind of actions add up, don't they?
Yeah, and yeah, have you got double doors by your front door? Because that keeps an air trap if you've got a double door and stops heat leaving a building. All of these things will make you more energy efficient. Have you got the correct lighting? You know, that's something that's relatively quick and easy to fix. Make sure you've got modern lighting that's more efficient than old-fashioned lighting.
Of course, all these kind of small tricks that we've always heard of,
Yeah.
And now is really the time.
Well, it will make a big
to
difference
implement them.
now.
Yeah.
You know, when energy was relatively cheap, people couldn't be bothered to deal with it. But now it's not cheap. You have to look at it.
And you were saying earlier that we don't know if the prices are kind of here to stay or if they're going to go down again. I'm a bit skeptical. This is a personal opinion. I'm a bit skeptical that they'll go down again, because if we've survived this long, let's say if a 2-year period passes, where we pay such a high price, what incentive does the supplier have to reduce the cost?
Well, ultimately, it's all down to supply and demand. If there was a glut, prices would go down. The current view with some of the chairmen of the larger companies is that the prices we're seeing at the moment are likely to remain with us for 2 years. Beyond that, we really don't know. But then you've got the political situation globally as well. Europe, particularly, is very dependent on gas from Russia. So the whole issue around Ukraine will have unsettled the European marketplace. So will they want to remove their reliance on gas from Russia? And if so, where is it going to come from? So all of these influences will impact the price. But what it tells me is that the price isn't going to come down anytime soon.
And maybe go up?
Possibly.
So you said there's no cap. Yes.
Well, you know, prices that we've seen at the moment, we've seen a huge increase in the last 9 months. I don't think we'll see that level of increase again, but the wholesale energy market, the prices change every day. And the trend is upwards, but not as much as we've seen over the last 9 months. So in percentage terms, you're not talking the big increases that we saw in the latter half of 2021.
Okay, so we need to keep an eye on the political situation as well.
Yeah, it has an impact on the energy market for sure.
It's incredible how many things affect the energy market, because I had personally no idea why it was kind of happening, but it has a lot of external reasons why this is affecting us so much.
I had a question put to me a couple of weeks ago: is why are electricity prices going up as well as gas? People can generally understand why gas is going up, but why electricity? And the answer to that is a fairly simple one: is that 50% of electricity in the UK is produced by gas.
Okay.
So if gas goes up, electricity is going to go up because electricity is produced by gas.
Do you see? So you've established that gas is very important in the UK. Do you think the UK will come up with alternate solutions in the future, as we've kind of been, let's say, very damaged by this energy crisis? Do you think that will kind of kickstart something within the UK?
Well, it's interesting. I'm not sure if it will kickstart something, because the kickstart has already happened, but not to do with cost, but to do with going green, by reducing carbon footprint. So I think what the higher prices will mean is that there's more urgency than there was to manage renewable energy. So we will for sure see an increase in renewable technology coming in There are new types of wind turbines that are available now. We're currently speaking with a manufacturer that's based in Coventry that produce wind turbines, and they're smaller. They will fit into a smaller site, and they're silent. So for sure, new technologies are going to be more relevant, but also because they're cheaper now in terms of payback, because energy has doubled in price pretty much. The payback for renewable is so much cheaper.
Yeah, of course.
And so much shorter, rather. Sorry.
Yes, yeah, and the investment seems to be worth it more quickly, let's say.
Yeah.
Is there any other advice that you'd like to give hospitality operators regarding this?
Well, what I'd say to any business, not only hospitality businesses, is look at your energy bills. Make sure you're aware of when your current contracts come up for renewal, and plan. Reckon on your energy costs going up between 50 and 100%, and be proactive in looking at renewable technology. Be proactive in looking to see where you can offset that increase, where you're spending money elsewhere. As I was saying earlier, a very quick win is likely to be merchant card. Your transaction fees, there's every chance we'll make a big impact there. So look to see, make sure your business is efficient in your use of energy, and look and see where you can offset the increase by saving elsewhere.
And all really good advice. And I know hospitality operators don't really have the time, but when we're talking about 10, 12, 14,000 pounds, I think we need to find a little bit of time to kind of go through all of that.
Well, in terms of time, all they need to do is send us the bills for review. So it really is that's straightforward. It can be done through the portal. Register that you'd like your bills for both energy and merchant card reviewed. We'll review them and report back. So it shouldn't take too much time to get those over to us for review. The review costs absolutely nothing. So be proactive and look at it now. And
take that first step. It shouldn't take too long then to have everything reviewed and have an expert opinion for free.
Yeah.
That's really
looking at the renewable technology will take a little bit more time, but to give an assessment of where you're at now, what increases you're likely to get, how we can offset, that's fairly quick. And we're onboarded as a company for merchant card and energy management for the Restaurant Collective members, but there are other deals out there on the marketplace where being a member you can save. So look at insurance, look at every aspect of the business to see how you can get around and manage the increase that's coming in terms of energy.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we have a very varied deals marketplace where you can have savings, as you said, from insurance to hiring to energy to merchant cards. So yeah, if you go through and actually redeem the deals, you will see a remarkable saving, and savings equals being able to pay the energy bills. Unfortunately, in this situation. I open the floor to any more questions, if we have any. And I think not. I want to say a big thank you for sharing your expertise with us today. And I will be putting this out there for everybody to get your advice. And please join Restaurant Collective as a member so we can work together to kind of offset all these overheads and to also share in these amazing deals that we have, and we're getting more and more every day. And our membership price will be going up in March. So get in there while it's still £99 per year to be a member and redeem these incredible deals. Thank you again.
You're welcome.
And
Thank
I hope you
Isabella.
have a lovely afternoon. And you've educated me so much. Thank you. Because as a homeowner, I'm also struggling. So I will be switching off the lights now after this call.
Well, if any members would like to contact me direct, by all means do so. Our email is on there, and I'll get back to anybody with any questions.
That's incredibly kind of you. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Right, bye-bye.